I love talking to this guy when he comes on the show. I love listening to him. He is just a terrific football mind and a terrific broadcaster, part of the Monday Night Football crew on ESPN. He will be calling the Pro Bowl, and he's part of ESPN Super Bowl coverage from, wait for it, Disneyland. So I guess they're going to rename Mr. Riddick's Wild Ride. Can't wait for that. Louis Riddick back here on the Rich Eisen Show. How you doing, Louis?
I'm doing good, my man. How are you?
I'm doing great. So you're going to ride that monorail with who? Who's on the monorail? Who's getting that passport to fun with you for the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I'll tell you
Do
what.
we know yet?
When it comes to rides, when it comes to Disneyland, I don't know who's going to be on them, but
Yep.
I'm not going to be on anything that goes any faster than a monorail. I can tell you that.
Louis, my speed is
retired my days of that.
My speed is it's a small world after all. That is my speed. Fact.
You and me both, man. You and me both.
Fact. And I am not even driven crazy by the fifth different version of the song by Room Number 5 as you travel throughout the world. I love it. I love it.
I hear you.
So
it's my wife's favorite ride, too. It's your favorite one.
That'll be great. Let's talk about here's the transition. Wait for it. Here, let's talk about the wild ride that is going to be Super Bowl matchups being made from Championship Sunday. Here we go. What do you make of the AFC Championship game and how that's going to play out, best you can tell, Louis?
Yeah, look, I think for everyone, and it's just about everyone who loves offensive fireworks and star power, I mean, this is the game for you, clearly, because it seems like people are more inclined to lean towards defense being optional. And I'm not saying that these teams won't play good defense, because they will. And they have some good defensive coaches on both of these teams, but I think points will be plentiful. I think, obviously, Kansas City will move the football. They move the football against everyone. They have multiple different ways of moving the football, and I think they will be successful in doing that in this game. Same goes for Cincinnati, especially considering how I think Kansas City's back end, the third level of their defensive secondary has really been inconsistent and has struggled some. And if Tyrann Mathieu at any point in time is not able to, finish this football game for whatever reason, it really seems as though they melt down in the back end. So I think points are going to be at a premium. I think the team that tackles the best in this game is really going to be the one that winds up getting out of this football game, because in that first game, Jamar Chase has 266 yards receiving the first time these teams played. 155 plus or 153 yards of it came after the catch.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just ridiculous. And Tyreek can do the same thing on the flip side. Travis Kelce can do the same thing. McCole Hardman is just a step slower than Tyreek Hill. So whoever can tackle and get these guys on the ground will have the best chance to win. But this may come down to a last possession ball game too, which brings into it a whole nother discussion about overtime. And I saw your thoughts about it, and I think mine have gained a lot of traction this week too, about how we think overtime should be handled. But I think this game could come down to the same type of situation that came down in the divisional round between KC and Buffalo.
Well, I'd like to put a pin in that overtime talk for just a moment. I will remove it later on after we get through these games. I was just looking here while you were talking at the Monday Night Football schedule. You did not have the Bengals. That will obviously change for future years. What makes Joe Burrow so good? What makes him so damn good?
It's poise, confidence, not being someone who gets rattled despite being so young, simply because he's just wired that way. That's in his DNA. He's always been a guy who has looked at challenges as just being temporary roadblocks and not something that can slow him down, whether it be, how he handled his college career, being a transfer from Ohio State and going down to LSU and then winning the national championship, to his rookie year having his knee blown up and then coming back faster than anybody thought he would, never blinking behind an offensive line that can be like Swiss cheese in front of him. He never throws anybody under the bus. He never seems to complain. His facial expression never changes. His body language never changes. And everybody else sees that, Rich, and they go, well, damn, if he's not complaining and he's getting the tar beat out of him back here and he's still throwing darts and throwing lasers out here, well, then we need to step it up and find a way to come through. And that's not just on offense, but that's on defense and special teams too. And that's what makes – look, you talk to enough great athletes, high-performance players. That's what makes those guys great, is that other people feel like they need to raise their level to match theirs and not let them down. And at a young age, that's what he's become for that football team. And look, his play on the field, as far as his movement in the pocket, decision-making, fluidity with which he delivers the football, accuracy, great situational awareness. He has all that stuff. But it's the intangible stuff, man, that is just transferring and coming along with him at every single step that makes you go, that's what a number one overall pick at quarterback is supposed to look like.
Well, he wasn't.
He's killing it.
And he wasn't on his butt, though, as much in, week 17 as he was last week. And I'm wondering if you think that adjustment that the Bengals might attempt to make, having seen what the Titans did with their line and what the Chiefs think they might be able to make some hay with Jones and Clark, et cetera, and how you think is that the key to this game as well, or it's just going to be a different set of circumstances, different teams rematch just a few weeks later, so on and so forth? What do you think?
Well, I think it's part of it. I think if you just looked at the number of times he was hit and sacked in the Tennessee game, you would assume, if you hadn't watched the game, well, there's no way. There's no way Cincinnati wins that game then. So even if Kansas City's able to get the same kind of pressure, look, they had 4 sacks in their first game against Cincinnati. What, the Titans had 9?
Yes.
So even if you put him down that number of times, it still doesn't guarantee that you're going to win the game. But I will say that I think, look, they'll try to protect him better. I think that Kansas City will exert maximum, commit as many guys as they possibly can without exposing their secondary to that wide receiver core as they can to try and rattle Joe. And I think they have a good chance of being even more successful at it because you're playing at home. The crowd noise is going to help you, just like the crowd noise helped Tennessee in Tennessee. And Arrowhead's the loudest place in the NFL. And these guys will be juiced up even more. And they also know that, look, they got to make up for some deficiencies on the back end that they're just glaring. They just are what they are. So, look, Frank Clark, Chris Jones, Melvin Ingram, those guys, they have to be on it, man. And I think there's just really not a whole lot Cincinnati can do about it right now. There's no scheme that you can really draw up now that's just going to magically cure their issues. That's a personnel issue. It's not a scheme issue.
Louis Riddick here on the Rich Eisen Show, Monday Night Football, ESPN's family of football programs, and he will be calling the Pro Bowl coming up in Las Vegas, Nevada, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. What about the NFC Championship Game? 6 straight in a row. Shanahan has beaten the McVay Rams. Now here comes the one with the most stakes on it. What do you think will be the best chance to make sure the Rams break this losing streak, Louis?
Wow, man. This one really just comes down to a mentality, really. I mean, look, there's a lot of things that are always going to play a factor, as you know, turnover differential, situational football, blah, blah, blah. Get off the field on third down, run the football, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
We know all those things that lead to winning in the NFL. But this is really about a mentality. And I remember when we did the first game of theirs this year, the first matchup that they had in Santa Clara, and sitting in the production meetings and talking to Kyle Shanahan. And the first question I asked him was, I said, look, last year, meaning in 2020, when you guys played them in Santa Clara, I said the first thing that jumped off the screen to me from this, I always start with the TV copy and then move to the all 22 tape copy when I'm watching these games.
Yeah.
I said, was the sound of the hitting in that game, because there's no fans in the stands and the mics are picking up everything. And I said, it physically sounded like you guys were delivering them a rear end kicking that was epic. And he goes, that's how we want to play them. That's how we feel like we can beat them. Because we feel as though, he said, quote, I told Deebo Samuel this needs to be a Deebo type of game. You need to be snatching chains, stealing bicycles, just like the character in the movie, and that's how we're gonna play them. Because they don't want to play that way. And you know what? They play them that way every time, man. It goes up another level. Look, they play everybody that way, but it goes up another level when they play the Rams. And that's going to be the deciding factor in this game. How is Aaron Donald? How is Jalen Ramsey? How is Von Miller? How are the Cooper Kupp, Odell Beckham? How are they going to respond? Are they going to match them blow for blow, or at some point in time in 3.5 hours, are they going to make a mistake or not be able to withstand that kind of intensity? Because that's what San Francisco counts on. They count on being tougher than you and being, good at what they do, but they count on being tougher than you, and I love that about them. I'm not the get off the lawn old crotchety guy, but I am a guy who likes that kind of football because that's the era that I played in and the era that I love. And that's how those dudes play, man. And that's why I love that matchup. And I'm just wondering, like, they say, people always say, no, they're not in my head. They're not in my head. Hey, man, we had our chances. I'm not in my head. I don't have any lack of confidence. BS. When a team beats you that many times and they beat you a certain way, and you know what the reason is, that starts to play on your psyche, and you start questioning yourself, especially at those crunch times in the game where it comes down to, I know what they're going to run. I know they're going to put 19 in the backfield, and they're just going to let him run. Can I get him down, though? When he sits and he dips his shoulder on me, is he going to run my rear end over? Am I going to miss this tackle? Is George Kittle going to put me on my back? Those are the questions they have to answer, and that's why that game gives me goosebumps because that's really what this game is all about, man. Yeah, that's what it's all about.
You got my juices flowing just hearing every last word you just said. I mean, that Monday night game you're referring to, it was really the first time all year the Niners looked like the Niners of 2019. And that was the night where Odell made his debut. Robert Woods had just blown his knee out. Stafford forced that ball to start the game down the field. They were not on the same page, clearly, Odell and him. But now they do appear to be that way. And Stafford made the plays. I mean, if I had told you that the Rams would make 4 huge mistakes, turnovers, and blowing a huge lead against the Rams, your thought would be Stafford would have to make one of them. He made none of them. And as a matter of fact, he made the throws to Kupp to kind of save the day. So what about this team now, even though they did not respond to that sort of Niners mentality in the third quarter of that Week 18 game where they may have had the best chance to eliminate the Niners of anybody else in this postseason?
I do think they are different. I do think that this football team has found its groove, its rhythm, its formula for winning. I think they know, starting with that game, that Monday night game that we did, that they can't just be a get in the shotgun and throw it 45, 50 times and let Matthew Stafford just dazzle us with his arm. They know that this has to be more like 2017, 2018 Rams, where it's Sony Michel, Cam Akers, lots of inside-outside zone, running the football, and then play-action pass, getting the gun sporadically, let Matthew dazzle you a little bit. But they know that they have to play the tough guy game, too, because it helps their offensive line. It helps the whole mentality of their football team. And I do think they know that that's what it's going to take against this team. I think defensively, look, Aaron Donald knows that he has to be 3-time MVP, defensive MVP Aaron Donald. Vaughn knows that this is why I was brought here. Jalen Ramsey knows I need to play in the slot against Debo. I need to be as close to the action as possible. Don't park me out here on the corner covering someone, look, as good as Brandon Ayuk is, don't park me out here where they can just formation me out of the game. Leave me in the mix. Leave me in the action here. I think these guys know that that's what it's going to take, and they have some damn good players in order to get the job done. So I don't think they lack confidence. I'm just saying, Rich, that whereas they know what the formula is and what it's going to take, the question is, when it comes down to it, when it's fourth quarter and you're tired, and all of a sudden 19 starts lining up in the backfield even more, and it's 3rd and 6, and you're going, you know what, most teams throw it here, but Kyle's going, it's 3rd and 7, I'm going to run it. I'm going to dare you to stop it, and I'm going to put big Trent Williams in motion, and I'm going to have him just blow up your defensive end like he did to Rashawn Gary.
I saw
what
that.
are you going to do about it? That's what I'm waiting to see how the Rams respond to that.
So Lewis is picking the 49ers.
I don't know. So I guess no. Well, I mean, so based on your analysis, would it be safe to say Chiefs and Niners, Super Bowl 56, or what? What do you think from you?
Yeah, that's what I'm picking. Even though, I'm never going to bet against Patrick and the DNA of that team in Kansas City. Although you just love everything since he's doing, and Joe Burrow's a stud, and Jamar Chase is ridiculous. And when it comes to the NFC, though, look, I can't say this enough. I love everything that is Aaron Donald. Everything. Where he grew up, the school he went to naturally, what he has made himself into, three-time defensive. I mean, it's sickening how much respect I have for that young man. Jalen Ramsey is an absolute warrior. Got to talk to him just a couple of weeks. I mean, these guys, and Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford, I mean, I love these dudes. It's hard for me to pick this game. It really is. But I just believe when I sat and talked to Kyle, and we were in there in those meetings, and he looked and he said, I'm glad you brought that game up from 2020. He goes, and I'm going to tell you what I told our team this week. I told Debo, this needs to be a Debo type of game. That stuck with me all year long. And they came out and they play that way, man. And I'm drawn to that. Not to say that the Rams can't play that way.
Right.
I'm drawn to that physicality aspect of the game that has been legislated largely out of the game. They find a way to do it within the rules, and it's beautiful. And so I'm always going to bet on that.
Before I let you go, I know we've talked for a while here, but I told you, Louis Riddick, I love talking to you. So I'll unpin it now. Your overtime thoughts. You said you think there needs to be a change to the overtime rules?
No, you know what? No, I don't. But the only thing I think, okay, when I've heard this whole discussion, I was one of those people who believe this. Look, we have become conditioned to believe that the only good football there is left in the world is football that is 55-54, 38-35, 45-41. Defense, I mean, offense up and down the field, bombs away, blah, blah. I don't believe that. See, we make football, we say football is the greatest team sport in the world until all of a sudden it actually looks like that, and we aren't getting the scoring. Then we go, this stinks. We need more scoring. We need more scoring. I don't like the argument of, well, it's not fair that Josh Allen didn't get a chance. Well, yeah, actually it is fair because those are the rules. They had 13 seconds to stop this offense with one of the best defenses in the NFL, and quite honestly, strategically, they blew it. They blew it. It's a three-phase game, man. Just like in Green Bay special teams against San Francisco in the divisional round blew it. They just flat out blew it. And you know what? That's what makes the game so beautiful. The only thing I would change as far as the sudden death nature of overtime is this. If you want to predetermine who's going to get the ball first so teams know what they're dealing with as it comes down the crunch time, fine.
Right.
But I like the sudden death nature of it because it puts all three phases on notice. If you're going to kick off, you better pin them deep. Defense, you better be ready to go and get off the field on third down because if they drive the ball down the field and score, it's over. It's over. So man up and get it done. I like that aspect of it. I like that pressurized aspect of it. I don't think that everything that is fair in the NFL always has to involve, well, let the quarterback have a chance to do it and dazzle us all. No, the hell with that. I don't like that. That's just me.
I'm with you. And not every overtime is going to have both defenses gassed or come in a game where both quarterbacks have played the position maybe at the highest level and the biggest stakes that we've seen. I mean, my God, Josh Allen is so the real thing. It's, you know, I mean, and you know the Buffalo area from your playing days too. That's what I said to Bills Mafia. Right now it's dark, but there's a dawn. My God, is there a dawn and a sun, and it's Josh Allen. Oh my question. Take care of yourself. I don't have any plans to be in Disneyland, but I do hope to run into you certainly Super Bowl week for sure.
Absolutely, Louis. Absolutely. I hope so too, man. Thanks a lot for having me on.
Anytime. The great Louis Riddick right here on the Rich Eisen Show. You should follow him on Twitter. A great follow on Twitter. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.